many campouts and showed them how to respect the land. Those years were an absolute joy and honor for him. Marshall performed countless Arrow of Light ceremonies. He also led the color guard performances. He took part in the Blackfoot training for other scout leaders and helped them to be their very best. Although he was a teacher and mentor to many, he actually learned more from these boys than they will ever know. Camping wasn't only for the scouts. He also took his family camping, his cousins, his nephews, his friends, and he played an integral part in the annual Memorial Weekend campout involving members of the Pataskala Church of Christ family. He planned the menu, set up the volleyball court, and lots of tarps, and brought countless supplies. He played almost every game of volleyball and loved every minute of it. Every year we went, the attendance grew and grew. What started out as a group of approximately 20 quickly grew to a crew of 75. He figured out a way to cook meals for such a huge crowd, and simply watching the meals being made was quite a spectacle. We always held hands and prayed together as a group, and even held our own church service at the campsite. In the evenings, we would all sit around the fire and sing, laugh, and carry on, and enjoying every minute around our beloved friends and family. Marshall was extremely involved with the youth group here at Pataskala. I remember that. He was never a bystander or a chaperone. He was always involved. If it was a softball game, he played. If it was a Kings Island, he rode the rides. If it was volleyball, he would jump up and spike it, smiling and laughing all the way through. If it was time to be serious, and still, he led by example and gave each event its proper emotion. While attending Pataskala, the amount of friends he made filled his heart and spirit. He spent time in many friends' homes, mostly playing euchre and laughing until he almost cried. Marshall had an immense love for his family. Not just his immediate family, but first cousins and second cousins, aunts, uncles, and beyond. And when I say family, I mean his entire family. He traveled to several states to visit them and to be a part of many of their functions. He traveled anywhere and everywhere concerning his kids. Wherever Keith was at the time, he went. Delaware, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and even Germany. He visited Scott while stationed in Michigan on several occasions, and even rode along with Scott while he drove his semi-truck. His daughter Mindy was a member of OVC's Express, and he and Bonnie traveled to many states to hear her sing, even if it was the same songs he had heard over and over. He still showed up and showed his support and pride. To add to his travels, he and Bonnie visited Branson, Missouri, a minimum of 20 times. Included in those visits were beloved family members and friends. His brother Mick and Janine, his mom and sister Sandra, Kevin and Tammy, Ron and Harriet, Aunt Tommy and Sherry, Uncle Roger and Aunt Linda. He loved being called onto the stage to participate and went along willingly. He met amazing singers and legends while on his trip to Branson. Mick and Janine accompanied Marsh and Bonnie on many trips to many vacations. With Mick and Marsh being brothers and best friends, Janine and Bonnie being close friends and quilting buddies, you can only imagine what wonderful times they all shared and the immense amount of laughter involved. Marsh also traveled extensively to play golf. He played just about everywhere he possibly could. Not only was he involved in several golf leagues, but he played with friends and family. Mick, Kevin, Scott, and Ron, just to name a few. Bonnie was told by several of his golfing buddies that Marsh was decent enough of a player he could have gone semi-pro. He sure could hit that golf ball. Marshall was truly a great man. Although he only had 3 kids of his own, he was a father to more than that. His sister's 4 boys always considered him more of a dad than an uncle. Some of the Boy Scouts felt the same way, plus several others throughout the years. Chances are, if you felt that way about him, he also felt the love of a son about you. Bonnie and Mindy, both, over the last few days, have had plenty of comments from you all reaffirming this. Marshall's biggest accomplishment in life was when he received the title grandparent. And man, oh man, he loved his grandchildren and would do anything he could to help, to visit, and to be involved. Just when he thought it couldn't get any better, he was blessed with the title great grandparent. His heart was so full, he thought it would simply burst. He enjoyed every single second with them all and loved them like no other. The best gift Marshall could give to another was his time. And he gave that to so many people willingly and unselfishly and unabashedly. Such a wonderful gift to give. Thanks, Marshall, for your precious time, attention, and affection. We all appreciated it very much, and we will miss spending the time with you. His nephew, Tony, one of his many sons, would like to say a few words at this time.
Good afternoon. A lot of the things I'll probably say today will be repetitive, but I can tell how much Mindy and I have both thought the same thing about her dad. Most of you know me as Rick San Antonio. I'm one of Marshall's nephews. First significant time in my life, he was more than just my uncle. It wasn't until I got the call from Scott last week that I just realized how much more. Yeah, over the years, I got older, started working, got married, had kids of my own. I didn't keep in touch like I used to. didn't seem as much as I would like to have. But then I got the call from Mindy, and she asked me to say a few words. First of all, Mindy, Bonnie, Scott, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to say something. And I apologize up front if I go too long, because a few words wouldn't sum it up for him, and it's just not who I am. So, as I was thinking what to say, come up with some words for, describe Marshall, which Rick did such a good job: loving, giving, compassion, friendly, firm. He was all those, but it just didn't feel right for me. So I started reading some of the social media posts from different people that posted stuff on Mindy's timeline. And the word impact came to me. Every person that wrote on the timeline talked about the impact he had on her life. And probably me more than anybody. He was, in everybody's own words, they described just, that wonderful man, the loving, the time-giving. But for me, I guess it goes back to when I was growing up. 9 of us cousins, we all lived within about 5 minutes of each other, 7 boys, 2 girls. Although Mindy sometimes was just one of the boys, and if you got tackled with her playing football, you knew she was just not your ordinary girl. I was the youngest of the 4 boys. We didn't have a dad, but Uncle Marsh and Aunt Bonnie sure made sure that we were involved. They took us to movies, swimming pools, skating rinks, lake area canoeing, sometimes just in our own backyards when we'd set up tents and play flashlight tag, or at least that's what we told our parents we were doing. As young as I can remember, Marshall's favorite thing was scouts. Anyone who knew him knew he loved scouting, knew if you talked to him through the scouts, they would tell you the impact he had on them, whether it was other scout leaders, scout masters, den mothers, and then numerous amount, I would probably say hundreds of young men, whether it was a big part or a small part, he impacted their lives in some way. Talking about scouts, everybody knew that Uncle Marsh lived by that motto: be prepared. Anyone that ever was at a function with him, a scout camp out, a church picnic, or a family reunion, Uncle Marsh had everything, always, whether it was tape in every color known to man, rope, matches, big bags of white working gloves. He always brought everything. And yes, sometimes he even brought the kitchen sink, literally, and sometimes 2. Most of the time, us cousins were there to help. I remember many times looking at something he brought, thinking to myself, why in the world did he bring that? When would that ever get used? But sure enough, it got used. And most of the time it was used to impact someone there, making their experience at that function more enjoyable, more relaxing, more convenient. And most of the time it impacted more than just one person. About the time that he started no longer being involved in Scouts as much as he was, it's when Uncle Marsh and Aunt Bonnie started attending this church. And that's when the impact on my life was the most significant. It was my teenage years. He asked me to play softball for this church. And with that, of course, came along attending the church. You couldn't play softball without being in the services. That's where I met Rick. That's where I met so many wonderful people. To this day, people that are still my friends and family. As the older cousins, my older brother started to graduate, start their own life, I started hanging around Marshall and Bonnie more and more. It's when Scott, Mindy, and myself became inseparable sometimes. We got closer and closer. I became their bonus son and bonus brother. If I could, I went everywhere with them, even if they didn't want me to. Sometimes, when I met people, Marshall and Bonnie would always introduce me. It's my nephew, but it's also my son. They never made me feel like I was an outcast or someone else. And so many people here at the church did the same thing. They just knew I was part of the Brumfield family. As Scott graduated and went to the service, Mindy graduated and went to college, Marshall and Bonnie made sure I was still part of their life. I would stay at their house, get up and go to church with them. I remember as I started driving, if I wouldn't go to church, I would get a phone call. Where were you? How you doing? Are you okay? I just remember so many times that I would go places and it was just the 3 of us because their kids had already gone. I remember going to Aunt Bonnie's family for Christmas dinner one time. I remember going to campouts with him. I remember going to youth venues. I remember going on vacation one summer. It took me just about anywhere they could. Many times it was just me and Uncle Marsh. We'd go see Scott in the service. I think I went with him when he actually got based in Michigan. I was with Marshall. We took several trips to West Virginia, and that's where he got me my first set of golf clubs and taught me how to golf. So many times after that, he would bring me his golf outings, 4-man scrambles. He was always taking me golfing. And when Scott came back, he made sure I was still with him. And most of the time he paid for me because I either wasn't working or it was just who he was. I remember a lot of the conversations driving with him, mostly about golf, OSU football, OSU basketball. Most of the time he had me laughing. And there were plenty of times that if he knew I was struggling or going through something difficult, he gave me advice even if it wasn't wanted. With that advice, though, came support, understanding, but never judgment. He would always give me, I'm here for you if you want to talk. Bonnie, I love you. And I knew that. Didn't know it at the time. Didn't realize at the time what it was doing for me as a person. But as I started getting older, and so many people talked about him playing poker, and one of the fondest things I remember was going to Ron and Harry's and playing cards, playing pool. Even if I was driving, I had another engagement or something else, I would get the phone call, hey, you should be coming up, we're waiting for you to start. We're waiting until you get up here so we play pool. And it's probably when I learned one of my most favorite lessons he ever taught me. And that's how to go alone on right 9 with the side ace. Anybody that knows me, plays cards with me, I'm as competitive as Marshall taught me to be. Don't like losing. With that though, he also taught me the grace of losing and what it meant to be a person who understands and accepts. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But getting back to the impact that he had on my life, it was while I was attending this church, as I said earlier, I met so many special people. I met one special family that gave me the opportunity to work for their company, gave me the opportunity to have a career along with my wife, Julie. I was able to support my family, raise my kids, and now help them as they have kids. After all these years, I still work for that family. And again, that's just the impact. I wouldn't be where I am today. Yeah, I'd be doing something, but I wouldn't have met probably everybody in this room. I wouldn't have met friends of mine that I'm dearly close with if it wasn't for Marshall asking me that one question, will you play softball for the church? Everything I have started with that question and meeting so many wonderful people. As I begin to close, one more thing I would like to say, I remember seeing Marshall's Facebook post, and I remember him, if you commented on your post, or if he saw your post, or post that he would put out there, he always would say, I love you. He would never end it without saying, I love you. But one post that he put on, I remember it more than ever, and that was, there was a question that said, if you could have one conversation with the person that's passed on, and you could have one more conversation with that person, who would it be? Marshall told his mom, my grandma. Well, Uncle Marsh, now you can have all the conversations in the world that you want with her. And boy, I sure would have liked to have been at that first one. With that, I would like to thank Aunt Bonnie, Scott, and Mindy for allowing me again to be a part of your lives. The impact that not only your dad, but you guys have each have had on my life. And to Uncle Marsh, thank you. I will always love you and remember the impact that you have done for me and my family. Thank you guys so much. Now, Mindy would like to.
Hello, everyone. Oh, this is quite high. Putting my heels back on again. Hello, my name is Mindy Brumfield. I'm Marshall's daughter. My dad was a man of many words. In fact, if he were able to speak today, he sure would have a lot to say. Actually, Dad came to visit me a couple of nights ago and kept me awake until about 1 in the morning with a very specific message that he wants me to share with certain people. A final message, if you will. These are his words and thoughts, not mine. I simply wrote them down. So bear with me as I share and read his final message. I can't see her. To my wife, Miss Bonnie Jo, thank you for 57 years together. Thank you for our beautiful children. I know living with me wasn't always easy, but please know I'm aware of the sacrifices you made on my account, and I'm eternally grateful. Thanks for being my favorite euchre partner. Thanks for traveling with me everywhere. Thanks for taking care of me. My greatest joy was to see you smile. I was most proud of you when you sang. Your laughter was my favorite sound. It was an honor and privilege being your husband. To my firstborn son, Keith, becoming a dad for the first time was scary for me. I didn't necessarily have the best example of how to do that. But through trials and tribulations, I had to figure it out as I went along. Simply being present was more than I had growing up. I had hoped to teach you lessons along life's path, but I think you taught me lessons, and you taught me how to be a dad. I'm grateful. I love you, son, and I'm proud of you. To my son, Scott, my pool partner, my golf buddy, my friend, I want to thank you for your time spent with me, not just quality, but quantity. You gave of your precious time all the way to the very end. I love you and will miss you very much. Next time you watch the Buckeyes, listen closely. You just might hear my voice in the crowd. I'll try to let you know that I'm still here. To my daughter, Mindy, don't tell your brothers, but you're my favorite. What? I'm just reading what it says here. Just kidding, it's a long family running joke. To my daughter-in-law, Catherine, the term daughter-in-law seems too distant to describe my love for you. Daughter works better. You were definitely one of the joys in my life. Thank you for loving my son the way you do. Thank you for always being so kind to Bonnie and I love you very much. To my granddaughter, Gina, you changed my life, my whole world, the day you were born. I had no idea how my heart could burst with love and pride. Your grandma and I would move heaven and earth and travel for days just to be able to see you. We truly hated the days we spent without you and tried desperately hard to make up for the lost time when we were around. I will forever be in your heart, and every hard decision, I'll be there. And every joy, I'll be there. In times of sorrow, I'll be there. I love you with everything I have. To my great-grandkids, wow, I love you all so much. Your mama and I are so proud of you. I'm overwhelmed with emotions every time I think about you. I tell anyone who will listen about stories and moments and memories we've shared together. I want to tell you all to stay sweet, but be strong. Be kind, but not be a pushover. And always love, honor, obey, and respect your mama. It's okay to talk about me and to reminisce. By doing so, it keeps my memory alive. In all your future achievements and accomplishments, I will be looking on, beaming with pride. My heart simply bursts overwhelming love for you. To Lexi and Noah, I wish I could have done more for the two of you. When I moved into your house for a little over a year to help out, I truly hope to some degree that I did. We had some really great times together. I will always cherish those and keep them close to my heart. I love you both and miss you very much. To my brother Mick, there aren't enough words to describe how much I love you. You have been the one solid friend that lasted my entire life. I'm so grateful for all the time we spent together, all the conversations, extensive travels, the abundance of laughter we shared. Every single aspect of my life involves you. Thanks for riding along life's journey with me. Although I may not have told you, I need you to know how much I looked up to you and respected you. Thank you, brother. You are my world. To my sister-in-law, Janine, God sure knew what he was doing when he put you in Mick's life. It was my joy and privilege to be your brother-in-law. Thanks for traveling all over the place with Bonnie and I. I'm so glad we got to spend so much time together. I love you. To my nephew, Michael, you are the coolest dude I know. It was a privilege watching you grow up and to see the wonderful man you are today. To my one and only niece, Michelle, thanks for letting me always pick on you. That's just my way of expressing love. Plus, I did it just to see that beautiful smile, to hear your laugh, and my favorite, to hear you say, Uncle Marsh. I love you, Shelly girl. To my nephews, Greg, Terry, Jerry, and Tony, I love you boys. I knew how you all felt when you were growing up, and I tried to alleviate some of that pain. I tried desperately to be there for you all as much as possible. I'm so grateful for all our time together, and I'm immensely proud of the men who now stand before me. Please keep all our memories alive in your hearts. For the four of you have always had a huge part of my heart, and I'm so proud of all of you. P.S. Tony, you look just like me, and for that I'm sorry. To Kevin and Clifton, every second spent with the two of you is always filled with smiles and laughter. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you, Kevin and Tammy, for coming along for many of our travels together. I simply could not be more proud of the amazing men that you have become. Thanks for sitting with me in the stands and for standing beside me on the golf course. Much love and respect to you. To Helen Jo, Melanie, Sherry, and Julie, it was a complete honor and privilege to watch the four of you grow up and to be able to be a part of that. Each of you hold a special part of my heart, each in your own unique way. I cherish all our time together, especially when we moved to Marysville and our time became more frequent. I'm thankful for the extra attention to Bonnie and I and how you jumped right in to help out in any way that we needed. Melanie, I'm sure gonna miss my Buckeye buddy. Sherry, I'm pretty sure your name is short for cherish because I truly cherish you. I adore you girls. I love you very much. To David Kessel, you were such a big part of my life for the last decade. The joy you brought my daughter gave me such a feeling of relief. The help you provided to Bonnie and I is unmatched by any other. From the beginning, I considered you my son-in-law, my son. Please know you always have my love, friendship, and respect. I love you, Dave. To Jean Rolls, thank you for sharing your life with us. Thank you for treating our home as your safe haven in a time of need. I loved you like a little sister and friend, but most of all, I'm happy to consider and call you family. To Kelly Hamill, for 40 years you have been ever present in my life. I want to thank you and Angie for taking precious time to always visit with Bonnie and I whenever you came to town. The love shared between your parents, Ron and Harry, will always be one of the biggest joys in Bonnie and I's life. Thanks for being an extra brother to Scott and Mindy. Thanks for time around the campfire, for your time around the euchre table, for time on the lake, for time on the volleyball court. Thanks for all of it. I love you very much. To my friends Dan and Valerie, oh how precious you both are to me. You both provided me with bountiful belly laughs. I often shared with others stories of some of our time spent together. The campouts would not have been the same without you. Thank you for your friendship. I love you both. To Roger and Linda, thank you for driving all the way from Colorado to be here with Bonnie and the kids. I want to also thank you from the bottom of my heart for loving my kids the way that you do. To Gail McPherson, sorry. Thank you for all the behind-scenes work you did to provide and make possible the food and fellowship portion of my service. Anyone who knows me knows that food and fellowship was always my favorite part of any service. Thank you, Gail. To the Pataskala Church of Christ. This is the only church where I felt I belonged. It was my privilege to spend time with the many kids in the youth group. They created wonderful memories for me that carried throughout my life. I want to thank the entire church for welcoming me to come home one last time. If I didn't mention you by name, please know what an immense impact you had on him. He loved you all very much. Chris Martin said it best on his Facebook post. I send you off with the Scout Oath. So any and all Scouts, or anybody who knows the Scout Oath that are in attendance today, I please ask you to stand where you are while Scott leads you in the Scout Oath.
I'll do my best to get through this. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, and to obey His scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.